This week on Gymwright Live, we welcome back to the show Gymwright business coach and owner of Edge Body Omaha, the incredible Missy Henry. Today, Missy and I are going to be discussing how to set up an incentive system for your gym staff to help maximize sales across the board. So that means new memberships, existing memberships, aka retention, retail, upsells to your premium services like PT or nutrition programming, etc. Now, today's episode is brought to you by the Gymwright Foundations program. This is our 8-week one-on-one sales and marketing accelerator program designed to help you break through and take your gym to the next level, regardless of where you are in your journey. To schedule a free discovery session with me to discuss your business and your goals and see how we might be able to help you, simply visit gymwright.com and get scheduled right away. I look forward to speaking with you soon. Now, if you're watching the show on Facebook right now and you do not see the little red light in the top corner of the screen, then you are watching the replay. So the first thing I want you to do is type the word join in the comments below so you can get access to the network. This is our free private Facebook group for the motivated gym owners of the world, where you will find tons of great conversations, interviews, and step-by-step how-tos of some of the most effective strategies out there for gym owners today. By the way, this will also get you our free gym sales and marketing planner to help you make this the best year of your business yet. Not to mention, you will receive a weekly reminder of whenever we go live for this show, so you never miss an episode. You're welcome. Again, just type the word join now so you can get access to all this great stuff and so you can start taking your gym owner game to the next level right now. All right, let's get this party started. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Gymwright Live. I am your host, Marcus Gurzy, and this week we welcome back to the show special guest, Missy Henry. Missy, pleasure to have you back on the show today. Welcome back.
Thanks, I'm excited.
Awesome. Now, where are you coming to us from today? This does not look like your typical background.
No, so noon class at Edgebody is rocking right now, so music is out of control, and I am joining you guys from a little coffee shop called The Beanery. So hopefully nobody goes through the drive-thru and orders smoothies, but you may be hearing some espresso machines in the background. So
sounds delicious. Awesome. Well, glad we can make it happen, Missy, and like I said, happy to have you back on here today. Now, Missy, you've been on Gymwright Live so many times now, I think we can probably skip your bio. So can you tell me in one sentence, who the heck are you and why should people believe in what you're saying?
Well, I've been on a couple times. I built my gym from scratch, opened up my gym back in 2014, was an exercise science professor and taught kind of coaches, instructors how to go out and teach. So I've been teaching for a really long time, and then I've been doing business coaching with Gymwright now for 2 years, and just worked with a lot of different gyms doing a lot of different type of things. I think that's the most important thing, is that it's not just CrossFits or personal training studios. It's worked with a lot of people doing a lot of different things all across the world. So yeah.
Awesome.
That's my jam.
Yes, indeed. Missy, you are revered amongst our coaches because you, frankly, you're just kind of a badass. And everyone who works with you loves working with you. So excited to have you back on here and get to pick your brain on something we actually get a lot of questions about. And that is, how the heck do I get my team motivated to help me with growing my gym? So how do I get them to help me with sales? How do I get them to really help me with retention and increasing retail sales and all that? Which on the surface, seems pretty simple. It's like, oh, well, you just ask them or make them do it. They work for you. But as anyone who's actually running their business can tell you, it's not quite that simple. And what we're going to talk about today is an incentive system that you are running at Edgebody that we put in place that has really helped get people bought in and really get the entire team rowing in the right direction. So I guess let me put the question to you. I mean, why do you think that setting up a program like this or an incentive system like this is so valuable?
Yeah, and like me, the gym's been, we're coming up on 5 years in December. And so did I always have something like this? No. But I think the reason that it's so valuable is because it just like, other things that we talk about with gym owners, like what you've done to get yourself to that point, even if it is successful, it's not going to get you to the next level.
Right.
So we may see plateaus in retail, apparel, supplements, like some of those other things, personal training sales, just like you may see plateaus during the year with membership. And so it's really taking a look at that and like, okay, let's put something in place so everybody's moving in the right direction. So then we're not just hoping we're doing a better job, we're actually pushing to do a better job in each of those categories.
100%. Yeah, a lot of the gyms that we talk to, who've been around for a little while, they all kind of tend to find their ceiling in everything, right? They're like, yeah, I never really seem to sell more than, maybe $1,000 in retail, or, I've hit my plateau with my membership where, I win 5, I lose 5, and they're everything kind of just starts to stay the same, and that can be incredibly frustrating because it's not like you're trying any less. You're trying and you're trying harder and you're pushing harder and it's not working. And that's usually because you're trying to do all the work yourself, right? You can't depend on you being the driving force for everything that happens. You have to, in a business like this, you have to get the entire team to be a unified front, a unified force that builds momentum across the board. So you're moving as one unit. Rather than you trying to move ahead and you've got all these great ideas and what, hey, we could do way more in retail, or, why aren't we doing better with retention? You're the one who feels like you start to feel like a broken record almost, right? Because you're like, I have said this stuff 1,000 times. I know you're a good person, Coach so-and-so, but why the hell won't you help us push this stuff? Or why are you so averse to pushing, helping us sell more retail? And it's usually because they're not bought in. They don't see how this benefits them. And, there's some pretty simple ways to actually get everyone rallied around the most important aspects of the business. And that's what we're going to get into today. So I guess since, just to kind of recap, we're going to be talking about how to set up an incentive system to help increase sales in all these important categories. Where would you like to start?
Well, first and foremost, I think it would be starting with actually finding out what incentivizes your team before you even set goals. It's just talking about having those conversations, getting to know your team members and okay, what really drives them? Because you might be surprised, it may not be money. And with gym owners or entrepreneurs, we're incentivized. I mean, a lot of us are incentivized by growing revenue, making money, doing those things. And then it's kind of shocking sometimes that not everybody's incentivized by that. So you can't just throw money at the problem. And so it's really, maybe it's starting with how do you talk with your employees and find out what really drives them.
And how do you recommend going about doing that? Are you talking them one-on-one? Is this something that you put to them hey, look, I want to build an incentive program and I'd like to figure out, what's most important to you? How would you go about doing that?
I honestly, I'm a big fan of individual meetings, even if you don't do them as often as group meetings, because you don't necessarily have to, but individual meetings just to get in their headspace, with how are things going? What do they love about their job? What do they don't love about their job? And finding out what really makes them tick just in their day-to-day anyway. I think that's great, even when you're just delegating responsibilities, because most of you out there know, man, it was awful. I had all these people, but I didn't have the right people doing the right thing. So it helps with that as well. But then even in the group, staff meetings, all right, guys, this is what I want to do to help take things to the next level. So this is kind of coming in with the structure already. This is what I want to do. I want to know what would motivate you guys. What would really get you guys to be okay, I can sling some protein jugs if that's my carrot, at the end, because it's different for everybody. So having kind of the team collaborate, then it's something they've all agreed upon. They're all in this together versus kind of going in and be all right, well, I'm going to give you guys this if you hit this. You may think that what you're giving them is amazing, but if it doesn't incentivize them,
right,
they don't care.
Exactly right. You got to get in, you got to identify what it is that they actually want that'll get them to push, right? And for some people, it could be it's money. For others, it's autonomy, or it's control, or it's a fun excursion, or it's, the team getting together and connecting deeper. There's a lot of things to consider, and everyone is going to have a different mix of this. Rarely do you find where everyone is interested in the same thing. So you gotta kind of play with this. But good. Okay, so we've identified now what makes them tick, right? What is it that they would like? What's the next step in the process?
Then the next step of the process, and I know we talk about this with gym members for a lot of different reasons, but you got to know your numbers. So, I mean, and I know you would agree with me too, that it's just like membership. It's people sometimes just go by feelings, like, oh, we sell a lot of protein, or like, oh, our apparel kills it. Yeah, it's just pretty good. And then it's like, ooh, we have 300 people and 18 people buy the protein. Like, that's not good. Yeah. But if one person is buying a jug of protein every day, or every time you see it, you're like, man, we're selling protein like crazy. So you really need to look at your numbers. And if you're just starting off, I recommend, when you look at the numbers, lump categories together. So maybe it's just retail. Maybe it's that supplements, apparel, stuff like that. Or you can go down the rabbit hole. Like, I have things really broken down into, I wanted to know, okay, last year, what did we do in protein, branch chains, shaker bottles, apparel, stuff like that. So I broke it down, and what I did was like, okay, the first time I roll this out, it's got to be something that's attainable. And I have a couple employees. I have one employee that came from commercial gym setting where it was like 24-hour fitness, personal training goals that were like, the trainers were buying sessions from each other because they weren't attainable. And then I had another employee that's from PayPal, like uber corporate, where it was like, I feel like they just dropped these arbitrary numbers that we could never hit. So the employees really loved that I actually told them how I came about the numbers, because then they had the confidence that they were like, oh, we can totally do this. We know how she figured it out. So I looked at, okay, 2018, how did we do in these categories for total revenue in each category for the year? Divided it by 12. So I got a dollar amount on average that we sold per month. And then I took it one step further and I divided it by the cost of the item. So for instance, we sell protein jugs for $42.99. So if on average we sold $1,000, I took $1,000 divided by $42.99. And then it was like, all right, guys, we need to sell 40 jugs. We need to sell 40 jugs. So for like the first time I rolled out this incentive, it was like, hey guys, all we got to do is do the average of what we did last year. You guys sell what we've already sold and you've won. And that was the like, this is attainable, guys. We're just getting a little bit more focused on each category. And then, yes, they knew, well, clearly when you hit a goal, it may bump up from there. But it's like kind of the carrot's not too far away from them at first, so they can kind of get their feet wet. And then we kind of go from there.
Love it. Okay, so I want to kind of dissect that real quick, because one thing we kind of breezed by, which was setting the categories, right? So what are all the categories that we want to address? We want to address, and you basically, when you said take the overall revenue, that applies to retail specifically, and that can apply to, you can apply that to, let's say, personal training or nutrition programs.
Yes.
In which case, again, if you can break it down to like a per unit, like, hey, we sold an average of, 3 new nutrition clients per month, or we had an average of 3 active nutrition clients per month, right? Or something like that. Breaking it down to the individual units, but the different categories are going to be retail. It's going to be whatever your premium service is, right? So let's say personal training or nutrition programming. And then your memberships, guys. So memberships is not just new acquisitions. If you focus on just new members gained, you're missing the boat. It should be net members, because that means you're addressing both members gained as well as members kept. And one of the fastest ways to help grow your gym is to not just focus on growth. I mean, we say it, I don't know how many dozens of times we've said this on the show, but one of the keys to success in this business is not aggressive growth, it's aggressive retention. You want to keep everyone engaged. And if you can get your team to start paying attention to, it's not just getting new people in the door, it's about keeping everyone as long as we can, right, at the highest average client value possible. That's how we win, because it takes the pressure off of sales and marketing on the front end. And now you don't have to grow by 15 new people because you're keeping more people, right? The whole lock the back door concept. So by focusing on memberships as a net number and saying, cool, we have, our net number right now is, 150 members. That's our target. Then, we're going to set now, the next target. We keep bumping it out from there. So those are the main categories we're going to hit, right? Was there anything else that you did in your categories or that you want to add to that?
No, what I was going to add to that was, and then adding that membership part of it.
Yep.
And so, for instance, my husband has his own job, but he does my books. And so he's always just like looking at the numbers and stuff like that. And he was always like, okay, well, like, are we going to come out on top? Like, if you are giving them these bonuses and, did you do like, what's the break even point, or like, are we just spending the money we made on their bonuses? And I was like, don't worry. And he was like, oh yeah, I forgot memberships included in that.
Bingo.
So like when you rope membership into it, then it's important to kind of talk about that, because like margins on shakers are like maybe $5 if you do something like that. And so like we have good margins like on the supplement line that I have, but it's just stuff like that. Like that's not the big ticket items. So yes, we want to grow that, but then we also want to incentivize our team to where like it makes sense. But roping membership into it, you're guaranteed that you're always going to come out on top, because then they're not getting their bonuses if we don't also hit that membership number. And a lot of times gym owners, like, it's a vulnerable thing to talk about how many members are coming in, how many members are leaving. You got to be vulnerable with your team
100%
because they need to know what's going on. And they also need to know, and if they have this false sense of like, well, the gym's killing it, but we don't see any of that, they need to know what's going on. And like I said, rolling this out has truly been one of the coolest things that I've done to bring the team together, because now, including holds, or cancellations and stuff like that, my office manager, he puts on the board like where we're at. I mean, we keep updating. We have a cool kind of like number board in the office. Mm-hmm. It's color coded. I draw pictures on it, whatever. It has like their bonuses and stuff like that on there. But what's great about it is we update it throughout the month. Mm-hmm. So that it's a constant kind of like running leaderboard. And then, the first of the month, and May being one of those months, we've got a couple, ladies that are pregnant. We had a couple people that were longtime members that are moving. It's just one of those months. And then some people went on hold, like I said, for pregnancies and stuff like that. So like super vulnerable. May, my goal was that we needed to be net 5, and we started at -16 because I count holds in that. Mm-hmm. Because we're only counting active. Now, there's a bunch of people coming off hold, but the team needs to see, all right, guys, this is the Everest like we're climbing this month. But they come into the office and they're like, what? All right. And then the coaches are asking my office manager, how many free trials we got scheduled? How many people you have on my books? How many people we have? And that's a conversation that my team has never had before. So they're legitimately interested in how many leads we got coming in. What else do we need to post on Facebook? What else do we need to do it? Should I be mentioned in the referral program in class? Like it's such a cool thing. And it's because they already love the gym. They want the gym to grow, but now they really understand and feel like they're contributing. Mm-hmm. And it's a win-win for them and the business.
Yeah, beautifully said. They now understand the mechanics of how success is achieved in this business, right? And that transparency around like, hey, look, this is how this machine works, right? It's not just, let's say it's the person doing sales and onboarding. It's like, hey, I've been busy. What the hell? Like, what do you mean? It's like, yeah, but people are leaving out the back door. We've got a bunch of people on holds and cancellations. Like, how can we step up? How can we amp up the class experience and engage with people? And let's follow up with people even more so, and be even that much more, personable when we're checking in and people haven't showed up. All of that stuff starts to come up. They start acting more like an owner, right? And that's really what we hope for and wish for as an owner, is that we have that kind of buy-in from our team rather than someone who comes in and punches the clock, because you're never going to be able to get the same kind of performance as you, or you're never even going to come close if you don't have them bought in. But by doing this, now you're going to have people start acting like an owner, which is only going to help make the entire team feel more unified. And by the way, if you think your members aren't going to feel a difference in a positive way, that everyone now cares about the details and is paying attention to the details, you're very mistaken, because they notice the feeling, the energy, the vibe, the sense of ownership that a team has, and the pride that they have in their job and in the overall culture and community that your business is. It goes through the roof, and they feel that, which only helps contribute to them wanting to buy more product and buy more services and so on. Okay, so we've identified what it is that they want. We've now identified the categories, right? The buckets, and how to kind of sort that out. So now how do we want to go ahead and frame this out, right? So how do we want to set the goals?
So I started with, they knew it was coming. And then, like I said, kind of going in with a plan. Like, this is kind of how I want things structured. This is kind of how I envision this. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think? Getting their feedback. And I went quarterly. So I'll be super open with kind of how I rolled things out for 2019. I was like, okay, got 3 months in a year.
3 months in a quarter. 3 months in a year.
3 months a year.
How did you do that?
As soon as I said it, I was like, blonde. It's having one of those days. Mom brain. So 3 months in a quarter. And then I was like, okay, I want some things to build, and this is also experience that I had watching other sales jobs or like stuff like that I was like, even if there's a bad month, they still get a chance to hit the quarter numbers. So it's like, you can't set goals that if they don't hit 1 month, they're screwed, because then there's no incentive to keep them going. So the way that I went in, I was like, all right, guys, if you hit 1 month out of the quarter, that's like the first tier. If you hit 2 months within the quarter, that's the second tier. Then if you hit the quarter goal, that's the top tier. That's like our premium bonus. And clearly, and if you do all three of those things, you get all three of those things. So what that does is, for instance, this is exactly how it went our first quarter of 2019. They killed January. Like super close. They missed one category by 2 in February. So they had only hit 1 month. They didn't hit February, but they were ahead of the game towards their quarterly numbers. So then they hit March, which also counted as 2 months in the quarter, but then they also hit their quarterly numbers. So they made up that one category to then hit the overall quarterly numbers, mm-hmm. to then get that top tier. So if they have a way that they can kind of win back that missed commission, that's how you keep them going. So mm-hmm. If one thing is always dependent on the other, you could just have a crappy month and then they're like, well, this quarter's screwed. We're just going to wait for next quarter.
Right. They sandbag their efforts, which you never want, right? I mean, having worked on lots of different sales teams and sales environments, when you're in a commission setup or a comp setup with an incentive model that's flawed like that, you see crazy stuff, which is so bad for the business. But salespeople will legitimately sandbag deals and not get them in a certain month, or say, you know what, I've got these leads I could follow up with. I'm going to wait a month and a half because I don't want to waste those numbers on this because I won't hit my goal. I'll put them towards next. So what you just broke down gives them the opportunity to hit the individual like milestones, but if they miss it, all is not lost, because you can still go for the big main goal and kind of re-win back the big prize by if everyone rallies and works together to get it done, which is only going to help bring them closer together yet again, right? So just to clarify, we set our quarterly goal. So let's say it was, hey, we want to grow by 15 net in this quarter, members, right? And X amount of dollars in retail and people in nutrition. Then you divide that by 3. So that would mean we got to hit 5 each month, right? So the goal for net growth every month is 5. And then now we've got the goal, or the incentives assigned accordingly. Is that right?
Yeah. So like membership, now as an example, I also, if it's like some months, like this quarter, it was very divided evenly. Like in January, my January was plus 15 by itself. Mm-hmm. And then February and March were like plus 3. So it's like we wanted to be plus 26 in the first quarter. But January was stacked because it's January. So it's making, and I do the same thing. Protein supplements, retail stuff, the normal kind of little loose ends that you may have around are usually divided evenly throughout the month, because that would be recurring. Like if you use protein,
a little
like
bit more
you
steady.
should. Yeah, like it's going to be steady. But apparel, for instance, and those of you, if you've done the foundations program, like we talk about this, maybe generally running apparel once a quarter, or at least starting with 2 quarters and stuff like that. Or like me, Nebraska, 4 distinct seasons. They were used to kind of running apparel every quarter. Well, there's 1 month that we're running that pre-order, that big line. So that month, my apparel goal is maybe 60, 70. And then the other months, it's much more realistic for, we sold a couple of our staple shirts, or we had some stocking caps left over. It's like the supplemental sale.
Yeah, love it. So we've got the quarters. We've set the goals now for each. Now, can you give us some examples of what you did for the incentives for your team? Like what has gone over well? Give us some ideas to help get the creative juices going for our audience.
And when I broke it down kind of tiers, it was like, okay, we're building, guys. Like we're building. So everybody, they voted. The bottom tier is usually a group experience. So they voted on, I took everyone out for drinks for quarter 1. So we hit January's, I took everyone out for a drink. For instance, the first month of this one, they wanted to do patio beers because it's finally nice in summer. So it was like going out and having a patio beer is what they wanted. Then in first quarter, if they hit a second month, it was $100 bonus for everybody. And they made a joke that they wanted a crisp, clean Hundo. None
Fresh
of these
from the
20s.
bank, like ironed.
And then, yes. And then like a couple, like, no, like, yeah. And a couple of them were like, I don't like, and I was like, would you guys like this broken down in 5s? Like, what would you like? And they wanted crisp, like $100 bills. They were like, do not disappoint. These better be pristine condition. And then the quarter number was, I drove them. Well, I didn't drive them. We didn't like carpool, but we met there, to Lululemon. And they got to pick out an outfit. So they got to pick out any top and any bottom that they wanted. I did draw the line that nobody was picking out like their $300 parkas and then like something else. I was like, okay, within reason, guys. But they got to pick out a top and a bottom of their choice and walked it right up. And so then it was kind of cool because we ended up having like a shopping day, and we went, and they were super stoked. And it was just also an experience with the team. And then as an example, for this quarter, since numbers bumped up for quarter 2, first tier's patio beers. The second tier is $125 bonus for everyone. So the bonus went up a little bit. And then they voted on, if we hit the quarterly numbers for quarter 2, everybody gets a pair of No Bulls that they want.
Solid.
And what I've noticed is it's like everybody has to agree on it. But then each quarter there's been different discussion. Like, okay, we did this. What else do we want? Like, or what else like works? But what's unique is that then in a quarter, we're still hitting an experience, cash incentive, and then something that's just more meaningful. Like something they may not go out and buy themselves, but they really want.
Yep. Beautifully done, Missy. And when you see something like this work well, as we're seeing it work in your facility and many of the other facilities that we've installed this, how did that feel for you as an owner? How did that change your experience? And now that you obviously did several years without this kind of a system, and this is a more recent installation. Now, how do you feel as an owner? How's that changed how you feel about the team, the business overall?
You like some things, like you get mad, like what was I doing before? Like why did I do this like sooner? But I feel like I had done what a lot of people do in the past. Like you tried cash incentives, and then you really realize like that's not enough. And it's how it's brought the team together and how they do. Like I would have never dreamed that they're owning it. Like they're really owning it. And it's them just really understanding like why we do things. Like, I've had coaches in the past and they weren't doing it on purpose, but it was like talking about other protein they like in class, or, you know, talking about other supplements and stuff like that. And it's like, guys, like, we sell our own line of protein. That's inadvertently, and they're not doing it on purpose, but now it's a well-oiled machine. And people are excited. They're excited to go and like hang out with each other. And I get, this like sounds really cheesy, but it's like, it's giving you as an owner to come through on your word. Like, you're promising them something, you're delivering on it, and you are just as excited as they are. And again, one of my employees, he used to work for PayPal. When we were first doing it in the first quarter, he was like, why do I feel like, I walked in and he was like, ha, like, we're literally only 8 jugs away and we have 18 days left. Like, suck it. And I was like, I'm in this with you. And he was like, that's right. Why do I feel like, and he made a joke, like, he's like, why do I feel like you don't want us to get this number? Like, of course you want us to hit the numbers. But he said, this is so much different than any sales incentives he's had in the past, because he was like, in a lot of companies, like, you feel like management really doesn't want to give you that bonus. And so to watch them see how excited I am to reward them, because we're like a well-oiled machine now, it's just, it is like, I am like, why didn't I do this sooner?
100%. Awesome. Well, Missy, thank you very much for sharing that system. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
I just like, I don't know if I like just ask what drives them, because you're going to be surprised. My friend owns a salon, was trying to give out more commission, and the young girls that work there wanted more love on Instagram. And as much as she was like, that's it? That's all I got to do? It's like, you may not, I think people are afraid of like, well, what if I don't have much money to give out? Or what if like, I don't know. It's just like writing thank you cards that cost you no money to members. Don't underestimate the power of appreciating who you have and showing them that love. That costs you nothing. And so just ask. I mean,
beautiful. Awesome. Okay. So I guess in one sentence, if you could give one piece of advice to a gym owner, what would it be?
I'm kind of like, I just already said it, like, be vulnerable with your team, find out what drives them, let them know what drives you, and let them know the insides of the numbers so that you guys can work together as a team. Because if you're watching this, you may have found like, okay, I couldn't coach all the classes, I couldn't answer all the lead emails, I certainly can't call everybody. You're not going to grow those additional revenue streams either without the team. And so it's being vulnerable, and it's like asking for help, but you got to get the team on the same page. Love it.
Missy, thank you so very much for coming back on with us today and dropping those knowledge bombs. Always a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, it's fun.
And I want to thank all of you motivated gym owners out there for joining us today as well. If you are interested in getting free access to our private Facebook group, just type the word join in the comments and we'll get you access right away. And also, if you are interested in learning how we can help you with your business, visit gymwright.com and schedule that free strategy session right away. Now, what else did we have? Oh, and if you'd like to watch the show live, check us out every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on the Gymwright business page on Facebook. And now get out there and build something that matters, guys. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.